guys, welcome back to another episode of I Watch, You Watch. But for those of you that don't know and are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe down below. But this is the SoPodcast. I'm your girl, Kay.
I'm your girl, Treasure.
And as y'all can see, we did a little bit of an upgrade. New studio, new mics, new me. No, I'm just joking. Not new me, but same old girls that you love, guys. So if you guys haven't been watching our channel, we've been doing our series of I Watch, You Watch. And just for those of you that don't know, the way how this works is I pick a movie that I really, really like. Not necessarily one that, Treasure might like, but one that I think that I wanted to watch to kind of see what her opinion is. So we kind of started off where, she went first and she had me watch Look Both Ways. I made her watch, I believe it was called Accused.
No, the first one I made you watch was
Look Both Ways.
No, wasn't it my favorite movie?
No, Look Both Ways first. Then I made you watch Accused. Then you made me watch Sleeping with Other People, and then now it's my turn.
Well, I don't remember this.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was a minute ago. It was a minute
That's
ago.
So terrible.
It was a minute ago. It was definitely a minute ago, but that's okay. If y'all want to recap watching those, there's a lot of good movies. I would have to say the movie that I love the most in this whole series so far has been your first movie you recommended me, to Look Both Ways. I think that has cemented itself in my favorite. So
like a favorite in general,
no, like
or
a
just
part of my
favorite,
favorite
a part
movies
of the
that I will
series
tell.
that we're doing.
No, like I will tell everybody to go and watch Look Both Ways.
Okay.
Because I love it that much. So this is exactly what we wanted, right? So hopefully you guys feel the same way I do, and that some of these movies that we're making each other pick, that you guys end up actually liking them. And then now this is actually one of my favorite movies. So it's funny, this movie that I made you watch was actually the movie I should have picked first, but then I was like, you know what? No, this one kind of came more relevant.
Well, I guess because the first one I watched was Accused, right?
Yeah.
So I guess like Accused was a good start because it was kind of like on brand, especially with like what it was talking about. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, we'll have it linked down below. But that one kind of touched base off of like safety reasons of like why not to put like your location online because it's dangerous. But yeah,
for sure. So definitely that's why I changed it. But this movie, guys, is actually one of my favorite movies. And the funny thing is, I actually watched this movie during the pandemic. Actually, it was the first movie I watched during the pandemic, and I remember I watched it with our cousin, actually, and I just loved this movie. And it's funny, I hadn't watched it since I watched it back in 2020, funny enough, and then I rewatched it for this just to catch myself up just with character names and stuff, and I was like, I watched it by myself, and I was still laughing, and I'm like giggling. It's like, I haven't seen this movie, but it's like, I watched it, right? So it just goes to show that, it was a good movie for me, and I just loved it. So I was like, you definitely had to watch it. So the movie I made her watch, guys, is The Old Guard. And the reason why I use the term made her watch is because it's not really her genre. She's more like romantic comedy.
I'm just comedy now.
Yeah. Oh, now you're just comedy now.
I like romantic. I mean, I don't really like romantic comedies, but like just comedies.
Yeah.
And I am not the type that like I'm not really into action or anything like that. So everything that she's going to pick for this series, which is like why we did it, is just so different from what I would watch, and like vice versa. She's not really the one to go and watch like comedies or anything like that. So that's why we did it. Exactly. And so basically The Old Guard stars Charlize Theron in it. And for some reason, like that's what caught her to watch it. I was expecting, honestly, something that was like, I don't even know, like maybe like army based.
Yeah.
And especially with the name like Old Guard, like army based, and like maybe it wasn't gonna be on the nose and there was gonna be an old guard, but like not old in age, but old in like I guess wisdom, and it was going to be like you're like they're teaching somebody new, and they're going to battle, and like they're kind of taking on like a mentorship kind of situation, and then they go on to war, and then something like that. That's what I was expecting. This title is so misleading, and honestly I think the title actually took away from maybe like the views. I don't know how popular it is like on Netflix or anything like that, but like they could have named it something way better that would actually hint onto like anything of what happens in this, and gotten a better like viewership, because I would never watch it based off of it being called The Old Guard, but if it was called what I think it should be called, then I probably like maybe could have stumbled upon it or been more open to watching it and watched it faster when you told me.
Yeah. No, so it's funny you say that because, yeah, the title just doesn't do it justice, but it's funny enough because when that movie actually came out, it was in, like, one of the most popular movies that was ever put on Netflix.
That's because of Charlize, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's not because of the title and everyone's like, oh, let me just guess.
No,
it's
it was
probably like...
Yeah, her name, and then they watched it, and then it was voted, like, one of the most, like back then. Obviously, with Netflix becoming, like, more popular and all these new shows coming on, I don't think it's gonna, like, title's gonna cement into what it is now, but it was one of the tops, like, when it first came out, and it was watched, like, a lot. Like, it stayed in, like, that top 10 on there for, like, a good, like, 3 months. This movie made me actually realize who she was and her name. I know I've seen her in a lot of other movies, like, she was in the, not Transformers. Is it Transformers? No, sorry. She was in the Fast and Furious series. She was in, but then it even goes back even further because she was the wife in, Hancock. And I was like, oh yeah, when I watched that when I was young, I was like, oh, she's so pretty. And I was like, okay, it's the same one, right? And then, you know, she's in a couple other movies, like some of these, like, Snow White movie or whatever. So
yeah,
I was like...
it was Snow White and the Seven Henchmen with, what's her name? Kristen Stewart, which was Bella in Twilight.
Yeah.
And that's how I think I first saw her, was because she was in that movie, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know her to be in anything else.
Yeah, no, she was literally actually in
she's actually... I think she was also in Charlie's Angels.
Yes, she was, like...
Mark me if I'm wrong. Don't come at me. I think
the old Charlie's Angels or the remake?
No, the old one with, like, Drew Barrymore.
Oh. Was she? I don't know if she was in that one.
I thought she was the bad guy, like the girl,
maybe
the girl that was with the guy.
She might have been, because I remember I looked up a lot of her other movies, and she was in a lot of movies. And I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even book.
You know how Drew Barrymore slept with the bad guy, like the rich guy, and then like there was the girl, his girl sidekick. I thought that was Charlize, but I actually could be very wrong. So like, don't actually clock me on that.
We'll definitely double check that. But no, like her being in the Fast and Furious was the most recent one that I seen her in prior to this movie, and I was like, oh yeah, she's Stryker. Okay, and even then I was like, oh, she's pretty. I like that actor, right? And then I watched a movie with her where she was with Emily Blunt in some like kind of Snow White-ish version thing or whatever, and again there. So I was like, okay, yeah. So I actually really like her. This movie though, she was completely badass in this whole movie, which made me just love her that much more. She kicked butt in this movie.
The movie starts off with them they're having a meeting with someone that works in the government.
Yes.
And he's telling them that there's all these children that a certain part of the country is taking and everything like that, and that they need their help because they are all from ex-army or
trained assassin, like
but they all have a past in like working in the army or working in the military. And so he goes to this group of people and he tells them this like sob story based Andy. So Andy basically is kind of hesitant about it. She's just like, I don't know, this doesn't feel too good. Like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
and then, you know, you have kind of, like, the softies in there being like, well, they're kids. Like, of course, we have to go do this or whatever.
Like Joe and Nikki, right? Which happen to be a couple in this, which is you'll find, like, a little bit, like, later on in the movie.
Yeah, you kind of sense that they end up being kind of closer than the other ones.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have to do this one for all, four for all type thing. Yeah. And then, so they end up going and doing this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically... it ends up being where it was a setup, and they like brutally murder them. Like it's not even there's not like a shot in hell that they had a chance, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's say they're like on the ground for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and then you're like, okay, what the heck's going on as a viewer? Because obviously you're sensing that these are the main characters or whatever. And they're dead. And you're like, okay. And then you see that their eyes are opening, you see their wounds healing, and they're getting up.
Yeah, and like literally bullets just popping out of your head, your side. Like, out of all their head. You guys, they got shot up probably like 500 times. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like
they put up a good fight for sure, but So then they end up getting up or whatever. They killed everybody that was there. Yeah. But then like there was just
it was a simulation. Almost like a simulation where there's a bunch of cameras going on shooting on top of you. On
top of the people that were doing it. Yeah. So like there's people that died, and then there's also like just guns like layered around the room. Yeah. And so then Then they get up or whatever, realize that there's a camera, and she's like, well, shit, we've been set up. And then she's pissed because she didn't want to do it in the first place. And then they end up leaving, and then they have to try and figure out basically who is after them, or who has figured out like who they are, basically, because they're a secret.
Their secret is now out that they are pretty much
immortals.
Although in this movie they don't like to say immortals, because at the same time they do have a point in which they are actually going to die. They just don't know when it is. Where immortals like, hey, you live on forever.
Yeah, and they've all at this point they've all lived for centuries.
Yeah, centuries.
And so, and then as they're leaving the setup, and they hop onto this train, and who has the dream? Was it Nikki?
So it was actually
Joe.
Booker. No, so Booker actually had the dream because he was the newest one to the group, which he's been there for centuries, but like the newest one that became immortal. So like the way how it is with all of them, there's only 4 of them, right? And who knows, there may be more as time comes on, right? And they basically have dreams of someone else that's about to become that they're immortal, so that they can kind of connect with each other, where they all have the dreams like kind of simultaneously. But it's been centuries in between, like since when Booker was the last one to join versus Nikki and Joe, and then Andy's been already there for like so long. I mean, Andy's her short name, her other name is like some other long name. I think it's like Andrew Marshy or something like that.
I think so. But so Andy is the oldest one, and she was actually I guess she was with somebody else.
Yes, originally.
Yeah, she was originally with someone else, and they were like a duo, and then that person got kidnapped, and she doesn't know where that person is. So she was by herself for a long period of time until she found Nikki and Joe.
Yeah.
And then they ended up finding Booker like a century later, or X amount of time.
Probably like
X amount of time later. All of these are like in the hundreds, so we don't actually know. So they don't actually tell us like a certain but like they talk about like 1000 BC, like, so it's like a long time.
It's like a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And so Booker was like the baby of the group, but again, like he's been with them for like a long time. And so he ends up having a dream about somebody else that is about to go into partial immortality. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, well, we have to find her then. Yeah. Because that's just what we do.
Yeah, and that if anyone finds out what she is, they're gonna take her.
And they kind of had they saw, because I guess like in the dream you can see like their atmosphere and like what they're around and everything like that, and they saw kind of where she was located. Yep. And her background, and again happens to be in the military. And so Andy's like, okay, well, you guys go to base and I'm gonna go and get her.
Basically, she's there with her team, which happens to actually be all females, and they're basically trying to help these kids like basically not be abducted, and she ends up wanting to help one of these other people, and the guy ends up slitting her throat and basically killing her, and she bleeds out in front of all of her best friends, and then it gets super weird.
It was horrible because like
she's trying to help somebody.
The way she was trying to help them, but the way that it happened was just horrible in the sense of like she was stupid. Yeah, like it was. She dropped her guard, and like they literally like said like obviously don't ever do that.
Yeah, and don't contact
don't contact them, like don't trust anybody. Yeah. And she's like Key mentioned she was the leader, so she ends up turning her back, and the guy's not even fully dead yet, and then he slits her throat, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, so then he ends up slitting her throat, and I was just thinking like in my head when I was watching, I'm like, well, obviously, like, she's not gonna die because they have to look for her. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna be interesting. So then after that, they take her to the infirmary, and she wakes up, and everybody is just, like, scared because they're like, no, like, we saw your throat get slashed.
Like, you died in my arms, girl.
Yeah, like you were, like, there was no chance of saving you. Like, we were about to ship your body back home. Like, you were dead. Like, there was no...
You were dead, girl.
You were dead. Like, you're not just dead, you're dead. Yeah, so, she wakes up and she's just kind of like, oh, like, what happened? And everyone's just, like, literally scared.
Like, she's a ghost. Like, you're looking at her.
Yeah, like, everyone's just like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. So then, she ends up getting, like... she has to go to like the higher ups because obviously they contacted them and they're like, okay, well, we have to go and study this chick because that's not normal.
Yeah.
And that's whenever Andy's like, okay, no, we cannot let this hoe be studied. So, and so basically Andy ends up taking her, but she's resistant. Obviously, like she doesn't know who you are, and you're just like, oh, come with me. Of course, you don't know. And I think, what does she end up doing? She ends up like knocking her out, right? Yeah. To take her onto like the plane or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so she ends up taking her onto a plane with someone that Andy has like connections to. And then when she wakes up or whatever, they end up fighting because obviously, again, by the way, her name is Niall. So Niall is the one that got her throat slashed. So Niall is kind of just like, okay, well, you knocked me out or whatever to get me on this. You're obviously an enemy. So then they end up fighting. And I actually like this scene a lot.
Oh, I love this scene.
Because it was like Andy, I think, was talking to the pilot in French, I believe. And she's like, pretend
it was like
Russian or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, just pretend that I shot you, like pretend to
play
die.
Dead,
play dead, and so then she's like, so that's what she does because she needs Niall to like calm the F down.
Yeah. And
so she pretends that like the plane is like going down and I'm the one that knows how to fly it, so you better like stop trying to fight me, so I can save your life or whatever. And then like so that's what ends up happening because Niall gets scared, and it's funny because then he like gets up the pilot and then she's like, what the hell? Because she ends up like putting handcuffs on her.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was actually, this is actually why I love it. It's so funny because she's like, you don't speak Russian, do you? And she's like, no. And she's like, oh, if you did, I actually told him to play dead. And then he just like gets up and she's like, what?
Yeah, she's like,
it was hilarious.
Seriously? Yeah, it was really funny.
It was really funny. But, again, what I really liked about, Andy and Charlize's character is just the badass, and then also to the motherly, like as the movie starts to progress, she actually cares about everybody that's here. Like it's almost like as
but she doesn't have that like motherly instinct actually though. Like she cares about everybody, but she's not like, I don't know. I think it's more so like, oh, we're on the same team type of caring than it is motherly. Like I don't think it's maternal at all. Like
fair enough. Maybe I used the wrong term, but I just like that whole aspect, and obviously because Niall's the youngest one out of all of them before she turned immortal by far, because they were all like older, like 40s, 50s and stuff. She's literally like probably in her 20s, like early 20s.
Yes, and
so she's very young.
We start learning. Well, we actually kind of had like a little bit of like a preview, but then we start learning that Andy is becoming less and less immortal.
Yes.
With having the qualities of like healing really fast. If you were like, okay, that's why Niall is kind of appearing now to them because Andy is going to soon like dissipate. Yeah. So anyways, so then they end up, trying to tell Niall what's going on, and telling her like, you need to separate like from your family. Like you're not going to be around them anymore. Like they have to just think that you're dead, and you have to be cool with that. And she's just like, no, I'm not cool with that. Yeah. And then they start telling like their stories. I believe Booker ends up telling his story about how he had like his wife and his kid, and he wasn't dying or anything like that, and then they didn't believe him, and then he's like, okay, I gotta go because they were starting to tell people about him, and then
and that how his son would be dying and he's not growing older. Yeah. He's not dying and everyone gets upset with you. Yeah, everyone gets mad at you like, why can't you give me your healing power? And it's like, you can, and you just watch people you love just go and you're still going to be alive, which actually makes it kind of tough. And brings the question, like, if anyone, because I know there's always been these questions, like, back in the day, if you had a superpower, what would you want it to be? And like, would you ever want to be like immortal and all this stuff? And people will be like, yeah, it'd be cool to live forever. But then this movie makes you think that no.
I mean, I never needed this movie to know that I just didn't want to live forever.
You didn't want that, but like this movie was like one of those things that made you actually think about it. Like you'll be.
It is definitely one of those things because it's kind of just like, why would you want to live forever? Like the world changes so much, right? Especially like think about it, even like in 10 years, how much the world has changed. So they've lived for like centuries. Imagine how much the world has changed, especially like technology based and everything. No, I don't want to do it. Anyways, so as we go on, we start learning about why Andy is kind of like harsh, kind of more so on that side, and like not as warm. And then we start talking about her original partner in this immortality life. Yeah. And
which is, Quinn.
Yes, her name is Quinn. And basically what happened was that they were in the army. And I'm honestly, it's interchangeable. Army, Marines, something to do with helping the world. Yeah. And so they're in it together, and then people started realizing, like, how come you guys are not like being injured for too long? You guys are not dying. Like, it's kind of weird. And then they assumed that this was the time whenever anybody that was like different, whatever, was assumed to be a witch. And of course they're women, so again, assumed to be a witch. And so then they had them locked up, whatever, tortured them. And then they realized, nope, we need to separate them. I forgot how Andy got out of it.
So what they did is they took Quinn first, and put her in like this box thing, and basically locked it up, put her in a box, chained her up and everything, and then they threw this heavy box into the ocean. Yes. And so basically she's been drowning for centuries.
And
it just
obviously
terrible.
Obviously Andy got free. I really don't remember
they didn't
how.
actually show how she actually got free.
I don't believe they went too in depth about that, but so Andy ends up getting free, and it's kind of like, okay, she's obviously feeling guilty because we're supposed to be like not together, but like I'm trying to save you and my partner in this whole thing. And she can't find her, obviously, like it's not, and she's like, I've searched for like decades and like I cannot find this hoe. So that's like kind of a guilt that she's been carrying for like centuries and centuries and centuries, and why she's kind of not open to new people in a sense, and kind of like everybody else is. So yeah, as we go on, and now it gets more like adverse in like what being a semi-immortal is. They have an ambush, and Andy was in a different location at the time, and the boys all got like
abducted and taken because they were sleeping.
Yeah, so the two boys, Nikki and Joe, get abducted, and Booker is literally blown to shit. Like his legs are like shredded open,
his
like
guts
his body,
are showing.
His guts are showing. Like everything. It's just like terrible. Literally, like watching it too, you're kind of like, okay, there's like partial immortality, but like, how do you come back from being shredded open? Like insanity.
So bad. And then just watching his body just start coming back to, oh god.
Yeah, like slowly coming back together. But the thing is, like, it still hurts them. Like, especially like the more that they're blown open, like the slower it takes, the more it still hurts a lot. Obviously.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's how they get captured, because you think
because they're in pain trying to heal, right?
Trying to heal. So all it takes is for someone to blow your head up, then take you in handcuffs, and then you wake up healed somewhere else and you're captured.
Yeah, which is exactly what happened to the other guys. Yeah. And I actually like this scene too, because this is whenever you see that, okay, like they're like an actual couple. Yeah. Because the guy that's with them, that is like the one that stole them, he's like looking at the couple, right? But like it's like unbeknownst to us that they're a couple fully yet. And he's like, oh, what? Like, are you gonna kiss him? And then he's like, of course I'm going to. And I love that.
In the back of the armored truck.
When they're in the truck, He's like, well, of course I'm going to do that. Like,
they're like kissing and they're like, stop it. And then he starts going on in like this whole like
tangent about like you're not even just like my partner in like immortality. You're like my partner in my life.
It's
the
like
love of my life. You're like the sun of my stars and all this shit.
It was crazy.
And like they're talking in French.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah,
I know there's some French in this movie. Yeah. And so they're talking in French, whatever. And then the people that are watching, it's obviously all guys, and they're like, okay, stop, that's enough. But like they're super like, it's super cute. And then one of them is more romantic than the other, and then I like that dynamic too, because they're just like, he's just like, oh, you're such a sap. Like,
yeah. And at this point, right, Niall was somewhere else. She was trying to find a way to go and get some air when they did the ambush, and then Andy had realized in their last fight scene that she ended up getting wounded and that she's actually not healing. So she ended up going to like this pharmacy, because I think they're in Italy right now or something, or France, somewhere, and she ends up going into this pharmacy to get like patched up. And it's funny, this is actually was another good part I liked of the scene, that the actual cash register kind of see that she needed help and like went to the bathroom. She's like, do you need help? She's like, and then she helped her, stitched her up, put the patch on, and then she's like, you're not gonna and then Andy goes to her and says, you're not gonna ask, and she's like, whatever your business is, I know you needed help, right? So it was really cool kind of seeing stuff like that, like don't ask, don't tell, like go about your business. And then Andy comes back and realizes that Booker's the only one that is here, and that they have to go and get the rest of the team back. And you find out that the guy in the beginning, Copley, the one that set them up from the beginning, was working for this other guy named Stephen Merrick, who owns some like company that's trying to...
He owns pharma.
Yeah, pharma, who's trying to basically keep people alive. I think it was it cancer or something?
Like basically he wants to like apply the immortality that they have and give it to everybody, so like no one can die and everything like that. Yeah. And the only way to do that is obviously to study them. Yeah. And the only way to do that obviously is to do blood samples and eventually like, I don't know if it necessarily would be like killing them because obviously there's some immortality, but it's like a cruel way to live because you're going to keep them under like a microscope, right? And keep them captured and they're not going to be free.
Absolutely.
So,
and he basically told Copley, I want all of them.
All of them.
Every single one of them. But then the thing is, they don't know that Niall got introduced, that Niall just became immortal, right? So it ends up being...
So yeah, they know about the four of them because that's who Copley was talking to in the beginning, but they don't know about obviously Niall because she was new into the group, right? So when they were looking, they're like, okay, well, one of them's missing. I don't know why they didn't take Booker until we find out. And going to do the save mission, they take a car, and whenever they drive to the like location where...
Copley. Because they go to his house, remember?
Oh, right. They go to Copley's house before they find Merrick, right? And they're like, where the hell are they? And then he's like realizing that he kind of effed up because the way that Merrick was talking about them, he realized that, okay, like, I don't want to submerge people into being tortured and like not being free. So then Copley is like, okay, yeah, I'm going to help you because I didn't want it to be that way. I didn't, the way that he's told me about it in the beginning was not what he's actually planning.
Yeah. So you actually find out in this part, like before this whole scene's happening, as they're going on this save mission, they go to Copley's house to get some answers of what's happening and where is Merrick, like why is this happening? Niall's like, no, she wants to leave, I want to go home, see my family, whatever. And Andy's like, sure, here, take the keys, there's a gun in the back if you need it, take the car, do what you want to do. And basically says that you can go be free to do what you want.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't know what's gonna happen in this mission, like you don't really know us, so you can go and do whatever you want, like you can be free and like live on your own if you want to and you don't want to be a part of this, whatever, because she was kind of like complaining and then like, I don't want my life to end right now and I don't know what's gonna happen with this. And then she's like, okay, fine, like, you know, you can do whatever you want.
Here's the keys, here's the car, go.
Yeah,
like I'm cool.
The thing is like, so I believe Andy had a gun that Booker gave her, and Andy was like, you know what, you can go, Niall. And she ended up giving Niall the gun because she's like, well, you know, you need to be protected, I'll just be fine. Like, I think she had like another gun or something like in her shoe or something like that, or like another sword. Yeah, she had some other weapon that she's like, I'm fine, like take the gun. Yeah. So they go their separate ways. Now Niall is driving. Yeah. And then she's like, for some reason she decides to like check the gun or whatever and realizes there's no bullets, and she realizes, oh shit, like things are about to go down because obviously she knew that Booker was the one that gave Angie the gun and there's no bullets in it. So what do you think it was trying to, like, what do you think went down? What do you think he was thinking whenever he did that?
Screw her.
Okay. Yeah. So she ends up turning around because she's like, oh, hell no, I'm not letting my girl go down like that. Yeah. And so...
that's when we find out that, you know, Booker was working with Copley the whole time. Yeah. And betrayed the whole team for this stuff. And then you find out that Andy's wound is not healing and she's bleeding, and then Andy tells Booker, I'm not even healing right now. And he's like, seriously, if I had known that you were not healing, I would never have let you be like this. And he betrayed them all. And then, so Niall ends up coming back. Andy and Booker obviously are captured. They're gone. And then Copley tells Niall that all the good that they have actually done and how they've changed and rewritten history and have saved generations and generations because of them doing what they're doing, even though they try to do it to be hidden. And he has like literally like a whole room full of boards of like in
connecting the dots basically,
from
like
all these centuries
pictures
ago,
of like different pictures of them and
rescuing
like
kids from caves,
and then like the
stuff.
kid turned out to be like not Einstein, but like it was stuff like that. Like you saved this kid at this time, or whatever, and he turned out to be the one that gave birth to someone that cured cancer.
Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize for cancer, all these things. So they've done so much good that he's like, oh my god, I made a mistake. So then him and Niall go and try to get them back. So, long story short, we're not going to go through all the fight scenes and, all that.
Which was good fight scenes.
Very good fight scenes. Like, watching them fight was really good. But even Andy just more because she's the only one who didn't have a gun and she was just fighting with a dang sword and just going to town on people was just crazy.
Bro, the fact that, like, they literally put the gun in the man's mouth and just shot him like crazy is
it's
wild.
So crazy. Like,
wild.
Yeah.
Like, Booker did it. Yeah. And he was basically saying that, he's like, I'm just tired of this life. Like, we keep living like the same day basically, and everyone that I loved has like bypassed me. Why not divert myself into the process of like maybe sustaining other people? Yeah. So he kind of doesn't see any bad in it, and there really isn't bad in it when he puts it like that. But like it was like more so again. I think he got shamued just like Copeland did because he didn't think that they were gonna be like literally like changing and like chained to like a
torture
table.
Me. Yeah, so his way was also like, just to add to what you're saying, Trash, is also to be like, hey, if they can see how that is, they can maybe reverse it so that maybe we're only immortal for a certain amount of time. So that I don't have to like try not, but then finding out that, he did that, he's like, hey, you guys can leave me here to be tortured. Yeah. Like, leave me here. And she's like, no man. Niall's like, no man left behind.
Nikki and Joe were kind of just like, well, F you. Like, you did this to us. Are you kidding? Yeah. And Andy and Niall kind of like, no, it doesn't matter. Like,
let's go. Right.
Yeah.
And then we had a great part at the end of the scene there when it came to when they found Merrick, and Andy and her did the same thing what they did with the pilot. Play dead or whatever, and Merrick didn't understand, and then Niall attacked him.
Yeah, because Merrick didn't know that Niall was like a part of them. So then,
it was cool.
It was a good scene for sure. Yeah. The jumping out the window,
and then
crazy
seeing her bones just go.
Yeah, that was crazy
that
too.
Was wild.
And then we reach the end, and we get where basically like they end up telling Booker that he is exiled for how long was it? It was like for like 50 years or like 50 years or something like
100 years.
Yeah.
And then Andy jokes and says, "Now I wanted you to get off with an apology." Because she was so sweet.
Yeah, she's like, "Now I just want you to say an apology," and they end up laughing because obviously like she doesn't realize because she's so new, so she doesn't realize that like 50 years is nothing. Like it's gonna pass by in like a week. The only thing is that obviously Andy doesn't know how much longer she has, so. Yeah.
So she basically says, "See you later, a-hole." Like a-hole, and laughed at it because that was like their little bond, which was really cool. And it was just nice at the end, like once everything was done, and then Andy and Niall become like very close, like they hug a lot and all stuff. So it's just nice seeing it as a whole. And then they go off to go fight more crimes. Basically, they tell Copley, "You're gonna help us, tell us where we need to go, but you're gonna do your job to erase like we were never there." Basically, and he's like,
so he has to keep erasing it and like not like keeping track anymore, so that other people can like get the knowledge and then try and go after them again. And so then that's the end of the movie. If you keep watching, you get like kind of like a little snack. Yeah. And we see Booker like entering this like dilapidated house. Yeah. And who is in it?
We see that Quinn is alive and she escaped. And then the scene ends. So, we all can see that there should be a second movie. I have no idea why it's taking this long for the second movie because it came out in 2020.
Who knows if there's going to be one. If it came out in 2020 and we're like 6 months to 2025, I'm not too sure.
What's going on with this? Because there's rumors that there actually was supposed to be a
her hair done grew back, so I don't know.
Her hair done grew back. So, I don't know why it's taking so long for it to be a second movie because there's definitely a lot of hype that it would warrant a second one, so I don't know what's happening there. It'd be a shame if they didn't because it did so well, and a good movie in the beginning did so well. People liked it. People are anticipating that there's a second one. People want there to be a second one from basically all the things I'm reading online, and their Reddit community is huge.
Really?
Yeah, when I was reading Reddit back then, it was pretty huge.
I should check that out then.
Yeah, it was pretty huge.
I'm pretty.
I looked at it about a year or two ago, so it might not be now because people were like pissed now because people are. But it was when I looked, it was pretty.
They're stalling.
Yeah, like when I looked, it was pretty big community for this movie. So, So I guess we're gonna get into our favorite part of our show here, which is, if it's not the starting, it's the ending. It's our rating here. So as y'all, if you guys are new to the channel, you know Treasure don't really rate that high. So I'm interested to hear what she has to say about this one and see if we're turning her around to come to my side of these action movies.
Okay, you're not turning me around. Like, I'm not ever gonna watch them majority. I mean, I'd watch the second one for sure.
Okay, there you go.
Even though I don't think it'd be the same. Like, I feel like they missed the moment because it's too far.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be like 5 years. So I don't think that they could probably recapture like the same way that they did everything, and that is a mistake. But I will rewatch it if it feels the same. And
okay, that's good. I'll take that as a win.
So I would say I would rate this probably like a 7.5.
Ooh, that is high. I think it's your highest rating for something that's not like Bridgerton or like what's it called?
Look Both Ways.
To All the Boys, or to like XO Kitty. You actually rated pretty.
Oh yeah,
pretty high too. So this is like one of the third high. It's like one of the highest up there.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay, let's go. Okay, folks, she actually liked it. 7.5 is high.
Probably.
She actually liked it, and she doesn't like action movies. So this is actually great. So good pick.
Yeah.
This is a good pick. Nice. Yes. Awesome. I'm so happy that she likes this video. This is great. And again, like for myself, like for me, this is definitely, 8.5, 9 for me, for sure. There's another action movie that I want you to watch that is also very good as well. I'm sorry, because I know you don't like action, but Chris Hemsworth is in it. And that's the only little hint I'm going to give you.
Well, I'm next.
So you're next. So it'll be like the next one. So
yeah.
Maybe the next one, because I have another one that you watch, which is going to be romantic comedy. So
okay, well, I already know what your next one is.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Oh, yes. All right. So
guys,
let me know what it is.
Stay tuned for that.
Oh, we're not even going to get them a sneak peek. Oh.
I'm going to say it has Gina Rodriguez in it.
Oh.
And she was the star of Jane the Virgin.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And Marlon something is in it. I forgot.
All right.
Watch with us, and we'll let you know what she rates it as.
Awesome. But hey, folks, we got a 7.5. We're winning. We're back.
We're going
baby.
up.
We're going up. We're back, baby. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Again, this is the SoPodcast. Don't miss an episode. We are back, baby. Key out.
Treasure out.